Pocket Welder Helper here. Let's run through 10 AWS D1.1 practice questions to sharpen your certification prep. Question 1. Before production stud welding begins each shift under AWS D1.1, a welder must A. Complete a new written qualification test, B. Weld and test a minimum of 2 trial studs on representative base metal to verify quality, C. Inspect all studs for coating defects, or D. Verify preheat temperature only. Question 2. When welding ASTM A513 high-strength steel, what's the minimum preheat required per AWS D1.1 for thickness over 2.5 inches? A. No preheat required. B. 50 degrees Fahrenheit. C. 125 degrees Fahrenheit. Or D. 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Question 3. Under AWS D1.1, what's the maximum root opening allowed before corrective action is required on a pre-qualified groove joint? A. 1/16 inch. B. 1/4 inch. C. 3/16 inch for joints under 3/4 inch thick. Or D. Root opening tolerances aren't addressed by D1.1. Question 4. Carbon equivalent is used to predict A. Weld reinforcement height. B. A steel's susceptibility to hydrogen-induced cracking and has hardness. C. Required shielding gas flow rate. Or D. Electrode storage requirements. Question 5. Which of the following will increase the risk of hydrogen-induced cracking? A. Using E7018 low-hydrogen electrodes from a dry rod oven. B. Welding in cold weather without preheat on thick carbon steel. C. Using a higher interpass temperature. Or D. Slowing travel speed to increase heat input. Question 6. On a welding symbol, what does a number to the right of the weld symbol represent? A. The weld size. B. The length of the weld. C. The number of welds. Or D. The heat input. Question 7. What's the primary purpose of preheating before welding? A. To increase travel speed. B. To slow the cooling rate and reduce hydrogen cracking risk. C. To increase weld reinforcement. Or D. To reduce spatter. Question 8. Under AWS D1.1 Annex, a fatigue design, weld details are assigned fatigue categories A through F based on A. The yield strength of the base metal. B. Geometric stress concentration and discontinuity severity at the weld detail. C. The welding process used. Or D. Weld position only. Question 9. Weld access holes in beam flanges are required by AWS D1.1 to A. Reduce the weight of the structural member. B. Provide clearance for the web-to-flange weld and prevent triaxial stress buildup at the flange-web-weld intersection. C. Allow inspection access to the inside of the beam. Or D. Reduce the required fillet weld size at the connection. Question 10. Hydrogen-induced cracking occurs in which zone of the weld? A. Only in the weld metal. B. Only at the weld root. C. In the heat-affected zone or weld metal, typically below 300 degrees Fahrenheit during cooling. Or D. Only in the weld cap. Download Pocket Welder Helper, free on iOS and Android, and get more AWS D1.1 practice questions right in your pocket.